my name is Danielle Davis and I read, write, and roller skate in Los Angeles. Welcome to this writer's life where we peek into process. On this episode, I'm going to share with you a writing activity where you can write a memory poem. A memory poem just means that it's a poem that also tells a story, it's a narrative, and it's going to be a memory of your own. And to give you inspiration for that, I'm going to read you one of my favorite poems that tells a story that reads like a memory, and that's Oranges by Gary Soto. I'm not sure if this is actually a memory that Gary Soto has, the author or poet of this poem, but it definitely reads like a memory of the narrator, right? So it reads like they are looking back on something and telling us the story. So you can just listen to this as I read it, enjoy it, and also you might take note of what you notice about it in general, anything that jumps out to you, something you like about it, and specifically, what are details that are used that really help set the stage and paint the picture of this memory. Oranges by Gary Soto. The first time I walked with a girl, I was 12, cold and weighted down with 2 oranges in my jacket. December, frost cracking beneath my steps, my breath before me then gone. As I walked toward her house, the one whose porch light burned yellow night and day in any weather. A dog barked at me until she came out pulling at her gloves, face bright with rouge. I smiled, touched her shoulder, and led her down the street, across a used car lot and a line of newly planted trees, until we were breathing before a drugstore. We entered, the tiny bell bringing a saleslady down a narrow aisle of goods. I turned to the candies, tiered like bleachers, and asked what she wanted. Light in her eyes, a smile starting at the corners of her mouth. I fingered a nickel in my pocket, and when she lifted a chocolate that cost a dime, I didn't say anything. I took the nickel from my pocket, then an orange, and set them quietly on the counter. When I looked up, the lady's eyes met mine and held them, knowing very well what it was all about. Outside, a few cars hissing past, fog hanging like old coats between the trees. I took my girl's hand in mine for 2 blocks, then released it to let her unwrap the chocolate. I peeled my orange that was so bright against the gray of December that from some distance, someone might have thought I was making a fire in my hands. You could pause the video and think about or discuss things that you notice, especially specific kinds of details. I noticed 3 categories of details that Gary Soto uses in this memory poem, and they are specifics about the weather, for one. This painted the picture of what it was like outside. It's December, and it says, frost cracking beneath my steps. And throughout it talks about how they can see their breath because the air is so cold. There's also this line, fog hanging like old coats between the trees, which is such an evocative, rich image that really comes alive in terms of what the weather is like. You can really see and experience it. Another kind of specific detail that's used in this poem is details about the place or the setting. They walk across a used car lot, newly planted trees. Those are all details about the place or setting that help make it come alive. Once they're in the drugstore, the candies are tiered like bleachers. So that's another detail that I can really picture and experience. The third kind of detail I noticed was actions that the narrator and the other character do, movements or actions that they take. For one, it says she came out pulling at her gloves, right? That's an action she takes. She lifts a chocolate. Then at the end, she unwraps the chocolate and the narrator peels their orange. So those are actions. So in writing your own memory poem, choose a memory that you have. It could be something that happened really recently. It could be something that happened a long time ago. As long as it's fresh in your mind and it's something you feel like you can flesh out into a story. And don't forget to include those 3 kinds of details. So specific details about the weather, specific details about the place, and specific details about actions that you or another character in your memory poem take. Now it's your turn to write a memory poem of your own using those 3 specific details sprinkled in to really set the scene and make that memory come alive for someone else the same way it's already alive for you in your own mind. And there's also a PDF in the show notes to help you in this process. Thank you for joining me here on This Writer's Life. I hope that you'll subscribe so you can join me for future episodes. Parents and educators, please check out my website where you can sign up for my newsletter. That way you can get every new episode delivered right to your inbox, as well as a link to any corresponding PDFs.
I'm Emily Arrow, and this is my ukulele named Bo. I love poetry, and I want to share some advice with you about writing poems. I love to read collections of poetry. This is one of my very favorites. It's a collection of a bunch of poems written by the writer Mary Oliver. The huge size of this book makes me think of a bit of advice that I learned from my songwriting professor when I was learning to write songs. And the advice was that you might write 100 songs, but out of those 100 songs, it's okay if you only decide to share or ever perform just one. That gave me hope because I like to make a lot of things and try things and write new things and old things and reuse old things. And that's okay. It's okay to make a lot of things, and it's okay to only use one if you want. And it makes me wonder how many other poems Mary Oliver might have written before she chose some of these to share. And I also want to point out something cool in my studio, which is behind me, this poster. It says poems, and that was a gift to me from Danielle. So it's special to be part of this video today.